Public health experts are applauding a new FDA ban on chemicals in many antibacterial soaps. The government is targeting 19 ingredients found in soaps and body washes.
That soap in your shower right now, the bar your family reaches for every morning, the body wash you squeeze into your children's hands at bath time. You buy it because you trust it, because it says clean. One of the most common chemicals inside it is a registered pesticide, not under your sink, not in your garage, on your skin. Every morning while hot water opens every pore on your body. The FDA banned one version in 2016. Manufacturers replaced it with the same class of chemical, kept selling 10 brands, 3 that are actually safe. Let's start with the one in almost every American bathroom right now. It is a cover story. One of the most common synthetic chemicals in American soap is a registered pesticide, still found in products lining every drugstore shelf in this country. You think you're washing germs off your body? You might be washing them off with something worse. 10 brands under investigation, 3 that are actually safe. 1 lab-verified brand you've probably never heard of. Let's start with the one sitting in almost every American bathroom right now. Coming in at number 1 is Dial. The name is practically synonymous with cleanliness. It has been in medicine cabinets across this country since 1948. The Gold Bar, the liquid pump by the sink, the antibacterial formula you find in office bathrooms and hospital restrooms and school hallways. For millions of families, Dial is simply what soap is. That trust is older than most of its users, and it runs so deep that Dial has never had to explain what is actually inside it. For decades, Dial products contained triclosan, an antimicrobial agent classified by the EPA as a registered pesticide and an endocrine disruptor. In 2016, the FDA finally banned triclosan from over-the-counter hand soaps after manufacturers could not prove it was safe for daily long-term use. Dial reformulated. But here is what the press releases did not mention. They replaced triclosan with benzalkonium chloride, a different antimicrobial that multiple peer-reviewed studies have linked to antibiotic resistance and skin sensitization with prolonged exposure. The Environmental Working Group gives multiple current Dial formulations a hazard score of 6 or 7 out of 10, firmly in the high concern range. The fragrance alone, listed as a single word on the ingredient panel, can legally contain dozens of undisclosed chemicals, some of them documented skin irritants and hormone disruptors that companies are not required to name individually. For families bathing young children with this daily, or for anyone using this as their primary hand wash multiple times a day, that chemical load compounds with every single lather. Dial's annual sales run into the hundreds of millions of dollars. They have known about these concerns for years. They had every resource and every financial incentive to reformulate safely and transparently. They chose not to. Trusted since 1948. Reformulated with the same class of problems in 2016. If a heritage brand like Dial is cutting corners on chemistry, you might assume the discount shelf is even worse. And you would be right about that. But do not assume the premium shelf is any better, because the next brand costs 3 times as much and delivers the same chemical concerns dressed in nicer packaging and a softer font. At number 2 is Softsoap. You will find it in almost every big box store in the country. Pastel bottles, bright pump dispensers, fresh-sounding scents like Aqua Fresh and Crisp Cucumber, and White Tea and Aloe. Softsoap positions itself as the family-friendly option, the accessible, everyday, safe choice for the whole household. Colgate-Palmolive owns it, and they have marketed it with images of clean hands and happy children for over 40 years. Independent testing tells a different story. Analyses have flagged Softsoap formulations for containing synthetic fragrances with undisclosed allergens, and preservative systems that include methyl isothiazolinone, a chemical so strongly associated with contact dermatitis and skin sensitization that the European Scientific Committee on Consumer Safety called for its complete removal from rinse-off cosmetics across the continent. It is still present in American soft soap formulations being sold today. The label says nothing about this. It just says gentle and moisturizing and fresh. Methyl isothiazolinone in a product you use on your hands multiple times a day is cumulative skin exposure that compounds over years and decades of daily use. For anyone with eczema, reactive skin, or anyone who has ever wondered why their hands feel persistently irritated or cracked after washing, this ingredient may be the reason you have never thought to look for. Colgate-Palmolive reported over $17 billion in annual revenue last year. They sell a cleaner formula in Europe. You do not get that formula. That is 2 brands, both controlled by massive consumer goods companies, both selling you ingredients their European divisions have already removed from their products over there. The pattern here is not accident or oversight. It is a business decision made by people who know exactly what they are doing. And the next brand has been making the same decision for 50 years while trading on a very specific idea of what clean is supposed to smell like. Number 3 is Irish Spring. The green bar, the sharp, unmistakable scent that has been a staple of American bathrooms since the 1970s. If your father used it, there is a good chance you did too. If you grew up with that smell in the shower, it probably reads as clean to you, because scent scent memory is powerful, and marketing has understood that for decades. Colgate-Palmolive owns Irish Spring as well, and the intergenerational brand loyalty it has cultivated is one of the most valuable assets on their balance sheet. But underneath that familiar green bar is a fragrance formula. The EWG flags for known allergens and compounds classified as possible hormone disruptors. Synthetic musks, used to create that sharp, long-lasting scent, have been detected in human blood, breast milk, and fatty tissue in multiple biomonitoring studies going back more than 20 years. These compounds accumulate in the body over time. They do not rinse away the way the commercials suggest. They absorb through the skin during the minutes the soap is actively lathered on your body, when warm water has opened your pores. Irish Spring's scent is one of the most recognizable consumer product signatures in America. That recognition was built on 50 years of advertising associating the smell with freshness, health, and physical strength. What those ads never disclosed is that the chemistry producing that scent may be depositing bioaccumulative synthetic compounds into your tissue with every morning shower. For any family where this bar has been a bathroom staple across decades, that is decades of daily skin absorption, nobody ever consented to. 3 generations of trust. 3 generations of synthetic musk accumulation. At least Irish Spring is honest about one thing. It smells like a chemical product. The next brand hides behind the word natural and then charges you extra for that cover story. Number 4 is Dove. This one lands differently for most people because Dove has spent decades constructing a very specific kind of emotional trust. The moisturizing bar, the sensitive skin line, the real beauty campaign that reframed the entire brand as a force for authenticity. Dove has positioned itself as the brand that actually cares about you, not just about selling you something. Unilever, one of the largest consumer goods corporations on the planet, owns Dove, and they have invested enormously in messaging around skin health, self-confidence, and the idea that this brand is on your side. What they have not invested in is cleaning up the ingredient list. Dove Beauty Bar contains sodium lauryl sulfate in many of its formulations, a surfactant that research has linked to skin barrier disruption with repeated, long-term use, which is precisely the opposite outcome of what the moisturizing messaging promises. The fragrance systems contain undisclosed allergens. The sensitive skin line, marketed specifically to people with reactive or compromised skin, still contains synthetic fragrance in a number of its product SKUs, the very category of ingredient most likely to trigger the sensitivity it claims to address. The EWG scores numerous Dove products in the moderate to high concern range. The brand's foundational claim that the bar is 1/4 moisturizing cream is a proprietary marketing assertion with no independent verification that the cream component meaningfully offsets the barrier damage caused by the other surfactants in the same formula. You are paying for the feeling of being cared for. The ingredient panel is selling something different, $3 a box. That is what your trust is worth to Unilever. We are not done. Coming up on this list is a brand found in almost every American home, and what independent testing found inside it will change how you look at every pump dispenser and pump bottle you own. Stay with us. You have now seen what 2 of the world's biggest consumer goods companies are actively selling you as gentle, natural, and moisturizing. So let us talk about what the store's own label is doing, because the next entry is the one most households reach for when they want to spend less without thinking hard about the trade-off. Number 5 is Walmart's Equate brand soap, the store brand option, the one that sits directly next to the name brands at half the price, inviting the assumption that it is basically the same formula in cheaper packaging. In some product categories, that assumption is correct. With Equate soap, it is correct in a way that should alarm you. Several Equate body wash and bar soap formulations contain parabens, preservatives detected in human tissue samples in research studies and classified as endocrine disruptors by multiple European regulatory bodies. Methylparaben, propylparaben, and butylparaben appear in Equate formulations still actively sold in Walmart stores today. The EU has restricted several parabens in cosmetics. The FDA has not. Walmart has the purchasing power, the private label control, and the margins to reformulate Equate products at any time without a single consumer being aware of the change. They have chosen not to do so for the soap lines. For families using Equate as their daily household wash, and millions of households rely on store brands as their primary option because name brand products have become increasingly expensive. This is the budget tier passing on chemical risks that premium brands at least try to dress up with better marketing. Drop a comment below if Equate or any store brand soap is sitting on your bathroom shelf right now. Let us see how many of us have been buying this without ever reading the back. The next brand on this list has a following that borders on evangelical. People gift it at Christmas. They buy it by the case. They have recommended it to every family member they own. And what independent testing found in that formula is a story that devoted fanbase has never been told. If this helps you stay safer at the store, hit subscribe. It is free, and it means you will never miss these exposés. Number 6 is Mrs. Meyer's Clean Day. Olay. This one stings differently because Mrs. Meyer's built its entire identity on being the conscious choice. The plant-derived formulas, the garden-inspired scents, basil, lavender, lemon verbena, honeysuckle. The packaging that signals you have graduated from the standard drugstore aisle to something more considered. Target carries it. Whole Foods carries it. Natural grocery stores shelve it adjacent to the certified organic produce. Customers pay a significant premium and pay it gladly because the brand has made them feel like they are finally making the right decision. S.C. Johnson owns Mrs. Meyer's. The same S.C. Johnson that owns Windex, Raid, and Off Mosquito Spray. The EWG scores multiple Mrs. Meyer's hand soap and dish soap formulations at a 5 or 6 out of 10, well into the moderate concern range. The fragrance systems, despite being described in marketing copy as aromatherapeutic and plant-inspired, still contain undisclosed synthetic components that the ingredient label does not identify individually and is not legally required to. The word natural on an American personal care product label has no legal FDA definition, which means any brand can use it for any reason with no regulatory consequence whatsoever. For anyone who made the switch to Mrs. Meyer's believing they were finally getting the genuinely clean option, that switch cost significantly more money and delivered a different set of unresolved chemistry concerns. Not clean, just better branded. See the pattern forming? Budget brands cut corners without trying to hide it. Heritage brands shelter behind generations of loyalty. Natural market brands charge more for better storytelling and prettier bottles. And what all of them have in common is a transparency problem they have made no serious effort to solve. So where does that leave the brands actively targeting younger consumers with even higher fragrance loads and even less disclosure? Number 7 is Axe Body Wash. The demographic target is young men, teenagers, college students, but the product ends up in homes across every age range. Parents buy it in variety packs. It appears in gift sets. The entire Axe brand premise is built on fragrance as a social instrument, which means the fragrance load in Axe Body Wash is among the highest of any product in this category. Multiple consumer advocacy groups have scrutinized Axe's fragrance concentration and synthetic musk levels. Studies on products with similar formulation profiles have detected compounds that accumulate in fatty tissue with repeated use over time. Beyond the fragrance, Axe Body Washes routinely score in the high concern range on the EWG database for synthetic colorants, fragrance allergens, and preservative systems that have raised regulatory flags in other markets. Unilever manufactures Axe with precisely the same awareness they bring to Dove, which is to say they know about the concerns, they have the resources to address them, and they have chosen to continue. For parents letting teenagers use this daily as their primary body wash, the skin during adolescence is in a hormonally active developmental phase. Daily exposure to compounds that interact with endocrine function during that window is not a risk disclosed on the label or mentioned in any commercial, but it is in the formula every single morning. The next brand wraps itself in clinical language, dermatologist endorsements, and the vocabulary of medicine. It sounds like the safe harbor. It sounds like a physician already vetted and approved it. The ingredient list, examined closely, tells a more complicated story. Number 8 is Cetaphil Gentle Skin Cleanser. Dermatologists handed out samples of this in waiting rooms for decades. It became the reflexive recommendation for sensitive skin, eczema, rosacea, and any condition that required genuine gentleness from a daily cleanser. Cetaphil built its entire clinical credibility on being different, on being the one product people with damaged or reactive skin could actually trust without reservation. Galderma owns Cetaphil. The EWG scores the classic gentle cleanser formula at a 4, moderate concern, due in part to parabens in certain formulations and fragrance components that cut directly against the fragrance-free positioning the brand leans on in its consumer messaging. The original Cetaphil formula contained sodium lauryl sulfate, the surfactant dermatologists frequently advise their patients to avoid for its skin barrier disrupting properties, in the very product being recommended to those patients with compromised skin barriers. That formulation persisted for years while the brand maintained its clinical positioning and its placement in medical waiting rooms. The recommendation became a generational reflex, passed through medical training and professional habit, while the formula was never held accountable to the standard that recommendation implied. For anyone with genuinely sensitive skin who has relied on Cetaphil as their trusted safe harbor for years, your trust was not misplaced because you made a bad choice. It was misplaced because clinical authority earned in a different era was never fully re-examined. We are in the final stretch now. 2 more brands before we get to what is actually safe and genuinely worth your money. And the next one has been the subject of quiet regulatory actions that most of its loyal customers never saw reported anywhere. Number 9 is Olay Body Wash. Olay is Procter & Gamble's flagship moisturizing skincare line, the ribbons of cream you can see swirling through the bottle, the age-defying language on every label, the elegant positioning in the drugstore drugstore cosmetics aisle. The brand has enormous and long-standing consumer loyalty, particularly among people who have made it a daily part of their skincare routine for years. EWG testing has flagged Olay body wash formulations for synthetic fragrance allergens and, more specifically, for DMDM-hydantoin, a preservative that releases formaldehyde as it breaks down inside the product during use. It is a formaldehyde-releasing agent sitting in a product you use in a hot shower, where steam opens your pores and maximizes what your skin absorbs. The release does not happen on the shelf or in the store. It happens while the product is actively on your skin. Procter & Gamble's annual revenue exceeds $80 billion. They have reformulated product lines for international markets when regulatory pressure required it. The American market has not generated that level of pressure yet, and so the American formulation remains closest to the original cost structure. The brand promises healthier, better-looking skin over time. The preservative chemistry may be working against that promise every single morning. One final brand. This last one surprises people the most because it was built explicitly and publicly as the answer to everything we have spent this video exposing. Number 10 is Method Body Wash, the sleek, architectural bottle that looks like it belongs in a design museum. The B Corp certification that was a cornerstone of the brand's identity and a primary reason health-conscious consumers chose it over everything else. The stated commitment to biodegradable formulas, non-toxic ingredients, and genuine transparency about what is inside. Method was the brand that people chose when they had done the research, asked the hard questions, and concluded they wanted something genuinely different from everything else on the shelf. S.C. Johnson acquired Method in 2017, the same S.C. Johnson that owns Mrs. Meyer's, Windex, and Raid. After the acquisition, independent testing raised concerns about fragrance systems and preservative choices that were difficult to reconcile with the clean positioning the brand had built its entire premium market position on. The EWG scores several Method formulations in the moderate concern range. The B Corp certification, built on verified transparency, social responsibility, and independently audited standards, lapsed following the S.C. Johnson acquisition and has not been consistently maintained across the product line since then. The sleek bottle is still there. The price premium is still there. The independently audited sourcing commitment that justified both of those things is considerably harder to verify today than it was before 2017. You chose Method because you did the research. You paid more because you believed more money bought more safety. The acquisition changed the answer without telling you it had done so. That is 10 brands. Now here is what actually belongs in your bathroom. The first safe pick is Dr. Bronner's Pure Castile Soap. If you have ever seen the bottle covered in dense, small print philosophical text, this is it. And the formula inside genuinely matches the ethics printed on the outside. Dr. Bronner's uses certified fair trade and organic ingredients, and the complete formulation is publicly disclosed without fragrance blends, concealing unnamed components. The EWG gives Dr. Bronner's Castile Soap a score of 1, the lowest possible concern rating across the entire database. The cleaning action comes from saponified organic oils, coconut, palm kernel, olive, hemp, and jojoba. No synthetic preservatives, no parabens, no formaldehyde-releasing agents, no synthetic musks. The product has USDA National Organic Program certification, which requires actual third-party auditing rather than a marketing claim the brand wrote for itself. The lather is thinner than you are used to from synthetic surfactant soaps, and it takes slightly less product per use than you might expect. But the skin on your hands and body is not absorbing a daily load of chemical preservatives, fragrance allergens, or bioaccumulative compounds. That difference is measurable and independently verifiable. Dr. Bronner's family ownership has resisted every acquisition approach, which is the single most important reason the formula has never been quietly revised downward to reduce manufacturing costs. The second safe pick is the EO Products Everyone's Soap line, which carries EWG verified status, the most rigorous independent safety and transparency certification available for American personal care products. EWG verified requires full ingredient disclosure, safety testing against EWG standards, and regular independent auditing of the manufacturing process. Everyone's Soap is available at Target, Whole Foods, Sprouts, and online, which means you do not need a specialty retailer or boutique pricing to access it. The formulas use plant-derived surfactants, essential oils for fragrance rather than synthetic fragrance blends, and preservative systems that have cleared EWG's testing thresholds. The scents are what the label identifies. There are no synthetic fillers hiding behind the word fragrance. For families rebuilding their bathroom products after discovering what has been in them for years, this is a brand where the label claims have been earned through a process you can verify in the EWG database yourself. The third safe pick is not a single brand. It is the Think Dirty app used before every soap purchase you make from this point forward. Download it before your next grocery run. When you are standing in the soap aisle looking at a label you cannot decode, open the app and scan the barcode. It pulls every ingredient, scores each one against the available safety data, and tells you in plain language what you are actually holding. Brands including Alafia Everyday, Shea Body Wash, and Attitude Natural Body Wash score consistently well in the app and carry either EWG verified or equivalent clean certifications. They sit on shelves in stores you already shop at, within arm's reach of every brand we examine tonight. The difference is no longer invisible to you. You have the tool now, 3 seconds per product to scan before it goes into your cart. That is the entire gap between what has been ending up on your family's skin and what should be there. What is the worst ingredient you have ever found hiding on a back label you finally decided to read? Drop it in the comments. Let us compare notes and see what everyone keeps finding. 10 brands. Pesticide class antimicrobials that the FDA banned, replaced by companies with a different version of the same problem. Formaldehyde-releasing preservatives in products specifically designed to be used in hot showers that maximize everything your skin absorbs. Synthetic musks appearing in human tissue samples across more than 20 years of scientific literature. Fragrance blends carrying dozens of undisclosed compounds hiding behind a single permissible word on every label in every store. None of it accidental. Every last bit of it a deliberate choice made by people with full knowledge of the research. And all of it avoidable now that you know exactly where to look and what to look for. Subscribe now, and if you're watching on TV, tap your remote so you never get blindsided again.